The legend and its place in history. The Trojan horse is one of the most famous tales in world mythology. Drawn from the epic cycle of the Trojan War, it symbolizes cunning strategy, deception in warfare, and the downfall of a mighty city. Although it is most widely known from Homer's Odyssey and Virgil's Aeneid, the story was not originally part of Homer's Iliad, which ends before the fall of Troy. Instead, later poets and historians like Arctinus of Miletus, Quintus Smyrnaeus, and Apollodorus expanded the tale. The horse became a timeless metaphor for hidden dangers disguised as gifts. The Trojan War, setting the stage. The Trojan horse cannot be understood outside the context of the Trojan War, according to legend. The war began with the abduction of Helen, wife of King Menelaus of Sparta, by Paris, a prince of Troy. This sparked a Greek coalition led by Agamemnon, king of Mycenae, to lay siege to Troy. The war lasted 10 years, with countless heroes: Achilles, Hector, Odysseus, and Ajax fighting for glory. Despite immense loss, neither side could claim full victory. The Greeks were desperate for a final strategy to bring down Troy's towering walls, which had resisted all direct assaults. The stalemate and Odysseus's plan. By the 10th year, morale was low. The Greeks had tried brute force, naval attacks, and even divine appeals, but the Trojans held strong. It was Odysseus, king of Ithaca, renowned for his wit, who conceived the ingenious plan: a massive wooden horse, hollow inside, capable of carrying elite warriors. The Greeks would pretend to abandon the war, leaving the horse as a sacred offering to Athena, goddess of wisdom and war. The Trojans, deceived by this gesture, would bring the horse inside their city walls, unwittingly sealing their fate. Construction of the horse. Hippias, a skilled craftsman and warrior, was chosen to build the horse under Athena's guidance. The structure was immense, towering like a building. Crafted from pine and cedar taken from Mount Ida, it was carefully designed to look both awe-inspiring and harmless. Inside, a hollow chamber was constructed large enough to hide dozens of soldiers. Trapdoors were installed, enabling a stealthy exit once the horse was inside Troy. The horse became both a work of art and a weapon of war. Choosing the warriors inside, Odysseus selected the bravest and most cunning fighters for the mission. Among them were Odysseus himself, Menelaus, Diomedes, Neoptolemus, the son of Achilles, and Philoctetes. These were warriors who could endure cramped darkness, silence, and danger. They were sworn to secrecy and prepared to risk death should the plan fail. For them, the horse was both a tomb and a chance for eternal glory. The Greek deception at the shore to make the ruse believable. The Greeks pretended to abandon Troy. They burned part of their camp, pulled down tents, and launched their ships, though most hid behind a nearby island, Tenedos. A single Greek soldier, Sinon, was left behind as part of the deception. His role was to trick the Trojans into believing the horse was a holy relic and that he, Sinon, was a victim of Greek treachery. This false narrative was crucial to ensuring the Trojans' acceptance of the horse. The Trojans discover the horse. The next morning, the Trojans found the deserted Greek camp. Joy swept through the city as they believed the war was finally over. Then, on the shore, they found the colossal wooden horse. Its sheer size puzzled them. Was it a siege machine, a gift to the gods, or a trap? Priam, the aged king of Troy, came to see it, along with his sons and advisors. Confusion and debate filled the air. Sinon's persuasive speech. Sinon was captured and brought before Priam. He spun a carefully crafted tale. He claimed Odysseus had plotted against him and that the Greeks had planned to sacrifice him to appease the gods. He escaped and sought refuge with the Trojans. Regarding the horse, Sinon swore it was an offering to Athena. He explained that its enormous size was intentional, so the Trojans could never bring it into their city, thereby denying them Athena's favor. This clever lie convinced many Trojans that bringing the horse inside would actually bless their city. Cassandra's warning. Among the Trojans was Cassandra, daughter of Priam, cursed by Apollo to utter true prophecies that no one would believe. She cried out that the horse was a trap, that it spelled doom for Troy, yet as always her warnings were dismissed. The people, blinded by hope and relief after years of war, ignored her. Cassandra's voice became a tragic symbol of ignored truth. Lacon's protest. Lacon, a Trojan priest of Poseidon, also opposed bringing the horse into the city. He warned, "Beware of Greeks bearing gifts." To prove his suspicion, he hurled a spear into the horse's side. The hollow chamber echoed, a faint metallic sound revealing that something was inside. For a brief moment, suspicion grew. Yet fate intervened. Soon after, Laocoon and his 2 sons were killed by sea serpents sent by the gods, or so the Trojans believed. interpreting his death as divine punishment for doubting the sacred gift. The Trojans grew convinced of the horse's holiness, the Trojans' celebration believing the war to be over. The Trojans dragged the horse into the city, dismantling part of their walls to fit it through. That night, celebrations erupted. Wine flowed, music filled the streets, and dances lasted late into the night. For the first time in 10 years, Troy rejoiced without fear. But inside the horse, the Greek warriors waited silently, enduring the suffocating heat, hunger, and fear of discovery. The signal of fire at midnight, when the Trojans were asleep or drunk from celebration, Sinon lit a signal fire on the walls of Troy. This was the pre-arranged signal to the Greek fleet hiding behind Tenedos. The ships returned silently under the cover of darkness, ready to storm the city once the gates were opened from within. The Greeks emerged from the horse at the dead of night. Odysseus gave the command. The trapdoor of the horse creaked open, and one by one the warriors climbed down using ropes. They spread through the streets, silently killing guards and opening the gates to let the returning Greek army enter. Troy, which had withstood a decade of siege, was undone in a single night of trickery. The sack of Troy begins. The Greeks flooded into the city with savage fury. Houses were set ablaze, temples were looted, and families were slaughtered. The city's defenses, unprepared, collapsed instantly. The once proud Troy, jewel of Asia Minor, burned as the cries of its people filled the night. The fate of Priam King Priam, too old to fight, sought refuge at the altar of Zeus, but Neoptolemus, the ruthless son of Achilles, killed him without mercy. The slaying of the aged king on holy ground symbolized the total desecration of Troy and the collapse of its divine protection, the death of Astyanax. One of the most tragic moments was the death of Astyanax, the infant son of Hector. Fearing that he might grow up to avenge Troy, the Greeks hurled him from the walls of the city. The brutality of this act epitomized the cruelty of war and the destruction of Troy's future. The women of Troy suffered a grim fate. Queen Hecuba was taken as a slave. Cassandra was seized by Agamemnon, though she prophesied his murder upon returning home. Andromache, Hector's widow, was enslaved by Neoptolemus. The once royal women of Troy were reduced to captives. Scattered across Greek lands, Aeneas's escape among the chaos, the Trojan hero Aeneas managed to escape, carrying his aged father Anchises on his shoulders and leading his son Ascanius by the hand. Guided by divine will, Aeneas's flight became the foundation for Rome's mythic origins, as told in Virgil's Aeneid. Thus, even as Troy fell, its legacy endured through Aeneas. The symbolism of the horse itself carried symbolic weight. To the Greeks, it represented Athena's wisdom and cunning. To later generations, it became a warning against misplaced trust and blind acceptance of gifts from enemies. It showed how intellect could triumph where brute force failed. The horse was not merely a weapon, it was a story, a metaphor, and eventually, a cultural symbol. Historical theories. Modern historians debate whether the Trojan horse was a literal wooden horse or a poetic metaphor. Some suggest it may have been a siege engine, a battering ram, or even an earthquake symbol, since Poseidon, associated with horses, was also god of earthquakes. Others see it as pure myth, an allegory invented to explain how Troy finally fell. Archaeological findings at Hisarlik, modern-day Troy, confirm a great city was destroyed around 1200 BCE. Lending some historical basis to the legend, the Greeks return and their own suffering. Though victorious, the Greeks did not escape suffering. Many faced tragic fates on their journeys home. Agamemnon was murdered by his wife Clytemnestra. Odysseus wandered for 10 years before returning to Ithaca. Ajax the Lesser was drowned by Athena's wrath. The destruction of Troy was not the end of sorrow, but the beginning of new tragedies. Legacy in literature. The story of the Trojan horse echoed through centuries of literature. Homer hinted at it while Virgil immortalized it. Later writers, from Quintus Smyrnaeus to medieval poets, retold and reshaped it. Shakespeare alluded to it in Troilus and Cressida, while modern works use Trojan horse as a metaphor for hidden danger. Its endurance in literature proves its universal appeal. The Trojan horse in modern culture today. The phrase Trojan horse has entered everyday language, especially in technology, where it describes malicious software disguised as harmless programs. The ancient story has thus found new relevance in a digital age, proving how myths adapt to changing times. The Trojan horse teaches multiple lessons. Beware of deception. Not all gifts are what they seem. Wisdom can triumph over strength. Odysseus's mind succeeded where armies failed. Hubris leads to downfall. The Trojans, blinded by pride, ignored warnings. War spares no one. The innocent suffer most in conflicts. These themes resonate across ages, making the story timeless. The enduring power of the myth, the Trojan Horse, remains one of the most vivid episodes of the ancient world. Whether myth, history, or metaphor, it represents the fine line between brilliance and treachery, between victory and destruction. Though Troy burned, the story of the horse survived, carried through the centuries as both a cautionary tale and a testament to the power of human imagination.